Paddy Pimblett's controversial win at UFC 282 has everyone talking. In fact, even UFC President Dana White has called out the result. This is the latest in the line of shocking decisions the UFC judges have given out over the years. Today, we're going to be looking at the events that transpired in the latest UFC fight night. Up first, let's see what White had to say about Jared Gordan's game plan. In the post-fight press conference, Dana said that Gordan had no one to blame except himself for the loss. Dana has always told all of his fighters to keep the outcome of their fights in their own hands. According to the UFC president, Gordan's plan for the third round was horrible. White also went on to compliment Jared Gordan for his performance in the first 10 minutes of the fight. The opening 2 rounds saw Gordan dominate Pimblett in striking, consistently finding his opponent's chin with his nasty left hooks. In the final round, however, instead of pushing his advantage, Gordan decided to grind away at Pimblett in a clinch. Let's be honest, guys, everyone including Gordan thought that he had the win in the bag, but he couldn't know for sure, and that is what Dana also reiterated. No one knows how the judges are scoring the fight. He went on to say that he has been in this business for 23 years, and he still has no idea what the judges are going to do. Dana does have a point. Gordan probably should have gone to round 3 with a better plan, but this doesn't discount the fact that the judges hugely messed up in their decision. Following up, what could have Jared Gordan done instead? Dana believes that Gordan could have tried to end the fight in the third round. Instead of relying solely on his performance in the first 2 rounds, Gordan could have gone in for the kill. He should have followed Santiago Ponzinibbio's lead and gone in all guns blazing in the final round. Ponzinibbio was down on the cards after the first 2 rounds. His opponent, Alex Morano, was in the lead, and defeat seemed certain for Ponzinibbio. Morano seemed to have more power in his shots and was able to absorb whatever combo Santiago threw at him. In the last round, however, Ponzinibbio would have the last laugh. He managed to land a huge right-handed strike on Morano, which rocked him off his feet. He then followed it up with a few more shots and was able to clutch a win from the jaws of defeat. Gordan could have done something similar and tried to finish the fight on his terms rather than leaving his fate in the hands of the judges. When he was winning the fight, there was absolutely no point in trying to drag it out by pushing Pimblett up against the cage and holding him there. Dana also gave a piece of his mind to the referee officiating the match, Herb Dean. The crowd was going nuts in that co-main event fight, and the ref allowed both of the fighters to stand against the cage for the entire round 3 instead of doing something about it. Now we'll look at Paddy Pimblett's reaction to the result. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett dodged a bullet on Saturday, and somehow he still thinks that he deserved the win over Gordan. We can't blame him though. We've never actually seen or heard a fighter admit he or she didn't deserve to win. In a post-fight interview, Paddy defended his controversial victory by saying that he won by a unanimous decision, which leaves no shred of doubt over his performance. He went on to compare his face with Gordan's, pointing out that he landed more significant shots and dealt more damage. Pimblett insisted that control time means nothing and that fights are scored based on damage. To the doubters of his victory, he told them to suck me ass. Typical Paddy fashion. However, he did admit that Gordan was close to finishing the fight and handing Pimblett a definite defeat. The Baddy revealed that he took a significant blow to his ankle in the second round. If Gordan had decided to strike instead of wrestle in the last round, things would have been a lot more difficult for Pimblett. Coming up, let's look at the outcry on the result. Everyone on the planet, except for Pimblett and the 3 judges, saw Jared Gordan winning that bout. The difference in performance was stark between the 2 fighters. When the Baddy was announced as the winner, it was nothing short of plain daylight robbery. A lot of UFC fighters took to Twitter after the result went out, and all of them agreed that Gordan was robbed of this win. Imagine all the fighters agreeing on something for once. Renowned figures such as Derek Brunson, Paul Felder, Philip Rowe, Lando Venata, and many more rallied their support behind Gordan. Dana White wasn't wrong to say that Gordan shouldn't have left the decision to the judges, but even then, it's still a little suspicious how they managed to unanimously crown Pimblett. And what's more is that according to the scorecards, not one, but 2 of the judges deemed that Gordan had only won round 3 of the match. Every single media member present at the fight scored it in favor of Gordan as well. Most of them said round 1 and 2 both belonged to him, with some of them even deciding round 3 in his favor as well. How there's such a huge gap between what the judges saw and what the rest of the world saw is beyond us. As expected, Gordan is heartbroken at this result, but has accepted that this has happened to him and there's little he can do about it, and has submitted himself to God's plan. Now for the 5 biggest takeaways from UFC 282. First off, at number 5, Raul Rosas Jr. makes history. Rosas made a perfect start to his UFC career as he managed to dominate and submit Jay Perrin in the very first round. The 18-year-old impressed everyone with his poise and composure inside the octagon on his debut. He became the youngest fighter ever to compete and win in UFC history. Now, Jay Perrin isn't exactly a formidable opponent with no wins in the UFC, and he struggled in all 3 of his promotion bouts, so it doesn't exactly make him a good instrument to gauge how far Rosas will go, but it was Rosas' control in the fight that turned heads. He's going to be one of the names to follow for at least a few years. Coming in at number 4, Ilia Topuria proves himself to be a menace. UFC 282 proved to be the platform for Topuria to give his best performance inside the octagon yet. In an impressive showing, he dominated Bryce Mitchell from start to finish. The featherweight contender demonstrated jaw-dropping grappling prowess by submitting Mitchell. Before the fight, most analysts and experts predicted that Topuria might reign supreme on the feet, but would struggle if the fight goes to the ground. He silenced them completely, proving that he was the better fighter overall, on the ground as well as on the feet. This brings his score to 5-0 in UFC and 13-0 in his professional MMA career. He's quite a talent inside the ring and has earned himself some more ranked fights in his division. Let's look at number 3. Darren Till left devastated. Darren Till has officially hit rock bottom. His third-round submission to Dricus du Plessis brings him to a 3-match losing skid. Till's run in the middleweight division of UFC has been nothing but a disaster so far. His last win was more than 3 years ago over Kevin Gastelum, and that too was a debatable split decision. One can feel for Till and his misfortunes over the years. After an extended break due to injuries, Till decided to join a training camp in Thailand in preparation for his fight. The guy was so committed to turning the tide around, he couldn't even come to see his newborn baby. His bad luck continued, however, as he was handed another defeat. Things must be depressing for Till, and it seemed so from his reaction on social media after the fight. He's going to be absent for another extended period if he did tear his ACL again. Till doesn't look like the same fighter who made a title shot run back when he was competing at 170 pounds, and the sad part is, he might never be the same again. Next up at number 2, a daylight robbery in Vegas. The talk of the night was Jared Gordan being done dirty, and there's no doubt about it. Heads would have rolled if we saw such a decision given in any other sport. Sadly though, commissions don't hold the judges accountable for their decisions, and we won't see anything happen regarding this. We can't help but feel bad for Gordan, as this could have been a career-boosting win for him. Not to forget that this also meant that he was cheated out of half of his paycheck. Finally, at number 1, the light heavyweight division is still in shambles. The UFC light heavyweight class has been a mess for a long time now, ever since Jones was stripped of the title back in 2015. UFC's most glorious weight class has been inconsistent, to say the least. There have been fighters trying to take over the division for some time now, but none have emerged as the clear champion. Dominic Reyes had a good run until he was knocked out by Jan Blachowicz. Later, Israel Adesanya failed in his attempt at the title at the hands of Blachowicz. It seemed that Blachowicz might just make it all the way, but then he was submitted by a 40-year-old Glover Teixeira. Jiri Prochazka then rose to claim the much-revered championship belt in a 5th-round submission against Teixeira. Shortly afterward, however, Prochazka suffered a shoulder injury that meant him being out of action for more than a year, and the title was vacated once again. Fast forward to December 2022, we end up with a bout between Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev for the championship. Once again, fate laughed, and we got a split draw result, leaving the belt vacant. The fight itself was a slugfest and left little motivation for the UFC to run it back. So next month in Brazil, we're going to see Blachowicz once again having a go at the title against Jamahal Hill. This brings an end to our video. What do you think about Gordan being robbed of his win? Do you think the curse that plagues the light heavyweight title will finally end? Let us know what you think in the comments. Also, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel.